Joining us is San Mateo County District Attorney Steve Wagstaffe, and I want to show him and you a video that has gone all around the country. His name is Austin James Benson, and he stands accused of this attack. He may have been mentally in a lapse at the time. He may be on drugs, but he is pulling a woman down and trying to keep her out of the lobby of her apartment complex because he allegedly felt that robots were taking over the world and he needed to save her. He said he was not guilty of anything, and a judge released him pending trial. It set off a furor. My question to you is, should the judge have released him in the beginning?
No, definitely not. That was an offensive conduct in my view.
Now, she says she didn't see the video, and that was the reason why she released him. She later brought him back and had him put on an ankle bracelet, but again, was released. Was that proper?
No, he should not. This person, for public safety, should never have been released. This is horrifying conduct to that woman.
Okay, now, finally, the police, they got other alleged reports of possible conduct by this gentleman, and he was put into custody finally. Now, what does that tell you about the system in San Francisco?
They need to have all the knowledge possible up front. Before anybody's released, you better learn everything you can.
Okay, now the judge says that she was not shown this video by the prosecutor. Should this have been shown by the prosecutor?
I think at least offered to her to say, described, because court moves fast. These things happen. Prosecutor offers, here's what happened. We have a video of it. If you want to see it, Your Honor, we'll present it to you.
Now, he pleads not guilty. Right. So he's not convicted of any crime. But it shows, I think, that for a lot of people that it's just not working, how we're dealing with mentally ill or possibly people under drugs, or even a judicial system that doesn't seem to even be watching itself as it goes through these cases.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. We've got so many steps to take forward. The big concern is realizing that the criminal justice system was never designed for dealing with the mentally ill. That's where we have to change and evolve to where we really learn how to deal with the mentally ill.
Well, the challenge is, or the issues that we're facing, one of the questions here is that jails weren't designed to handle the mentally ill, but the mentally ill wind up in them in disproportionate numbers, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Sometimes they're on drugs. Meth, for example, is a very common drug among people that are having mental issues.
Right.
Okay, so if you don't want to jail them, but they're going into the jail anyway, why not make the jails more mental health facilities? I mean, why?
I agree. Since the state of California for over 4 decades has chosen not to follow up on their promise to create and provide money for local facilities, we do want to change our jails. In San Mateo County, in our new facility that just opened 2.5 years ago, we're doing that. We've opened up 2 mental health pods there.
Okay, but we have also an issue of the civil rights of the defendant who says he's not guilty and hasn't been proven guilty, and the society's rights.
Yes.
Now, the civil rights of the person that's not guilty is that you go in, and if you look okay to the judge, you're not being mental or anything like that, you're granted bail.
Sometimes.
Now, what do you do in San Mateo County? I mean, if the person isn't in a psychotic state or on drugs when they go in front of that judge, the judge basically has doesn't really have much of an issue except for to release them, right? But
they set bail. And most of the homeless people in these conditions don't have the money to make as much as $10,000 or $15,000 bail. And then we keep them in so we can very quickly try and connect them to social services.
To keep someone in that is poor and homeless, I mean, someone would say, hey, come on, that's prejudicial. You're picking on somebody. How do you know that they have a mental problem? How do you know that you're not just keeping them in there arbitrarily?
Well, first of all, the bail will be set the same for everybody. We don't set a special bail for people who have mental health issues. Everybody's going to get that when the conduct justifies it. Our focus in San Mateo County is on public safety. When we see a case like we just saw here, where this woman was terrorized, we're not going to say that that person should be released from custody. Public safety says that they're not exposed until we can get the person the treatment they need. That, to me, is public safety number one.
Do we have a setup in the state of California? We only have a very short time here, that accounts for people bad conduct while mentally ill? Or is it one or the other? Is it criminal or health? Criminal or health? Is there anything in between legally?
No, there isn't. But what
and that's
criminal
one of our
law
problems
does,
is,
that's
right?
a big change. But what criminal law can do is keep them in custody until we can get them the mental health, because it doesn't exist otherwise. The gap is there.
Yeah, but if you have a whole push to keep people out of custody because you feel that there's too many people in custody, that's going to be completely different than what you're talking about.
I agree. But then what that does, it forgets the protection of the public.
We're going to be talking about a topic that isn't very pleasant, but it's becoming increasingly prevalent in the Bay Area. Joining us this morning, San Mateo County District Attorney Steve Wagstaffe. You know, I don't know of a community in the Bay Area,
right,
urban, suburban, rural, where car break-ins aren't just off the charts.
There isn't one.
You just go wherever this is a common scene in parking lots, along the side streets, up and down the peninsula, in Marin, in the East Bay, in San Francisco. A lot of people are saying that it's the product of our own judicial system and our own vote, that we basically voted to make crimes or like car boosting, or at least breaking a window and stealing, pretty much misdemeanors, citation offenses. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. That's correct. That's been true since Prop 47 passed 5 years ago.
Now, Prop 47 was intended to lessen criminal charges in order as a move towards reform.
Right.
Is it working?
I don't think so. I think it was well-intentioned. I think the goal was that, hey, let's not label people with felonies for these type of offenses. But what it's done is, because misdemeanors simply don't get treated seriously in our criminal justice system, what occurs is that there's no consequence. And without a consequence, of course, what's going to happen?
Now,
people commit them again.
I've had district attorneys argue that actually there are consequences. Auto boosting is still a punishable offense. Now, the question is that the individual acts aren't. And if you steal under $950, that's different. Or if you're in possession of $950 worth of stolen goods, that's a misdemeanor. If you break into a car, that's a misdemeanor. If you break in and steal, that's a felony, though, right?
Right.
So it gets parsed out, but the reality is that very little happens as a result of that. Is that correct?
Throughout the state of California, that's correct.
Okay. Police, there's a trickle down. Then police start to say, well, if nothing's going to happen, what do we go fill out a form online?
Yep.
I mean, it changes the whole culture of things.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to do down in our county, at least, and my law enforcement's great about it, is they don't take that attitude. They don't just have them report online. In our county, if there's broken glass and if we see like a blood on it, we'll do DNA on a car burglary down our way.
Really?
Absolutely. Our crime lab has the resources that we can do it. I just thought earlier this year we had a car burglary.
Because it just doesn't seem to be the priority. I'm not. And there's another one. There's theft from stores that is going on all around the Bay Area, where people are just walking in and wholesale grabbing things. And again, if it's under $950, it's a ticketed offense. And merchants are just cringing left and right about the idea of losing.
And they're right to feel that, because that's a failure of the system, where merchants are being so victimized by this, and it's affecting all of our business, all of us. So that's why, at least in our county, and what I think many other counties, not just ours, where they're really working hard to say, no, we will treat these seriously, urging our police, make the arrest, take them to jail, don't just write a ticket.
Like I said, people just walk in and are grabbing things. Now, statistically, however, if you don't charge these things, then your felony charges are down and crime goes down. And people, so you can actually say that things are getting better because the auto break-ins have gone down, when there's a question about whether people are even bothering to report them anymore.
That's the false narrative. Crime's down, so everything's working. And at least we're not. We're tracking it. Crime is up on the type of theft crimes you just pointed to. And absolutely, if anybody treats it lightly, then guess what's going to happen? It will go up.
Okay. But meantime, in Sacramento, state lawmakers, whenever they're given the opportunity to sort of toughen up or even change things to say that you don't have to prove that a car was locked necessarily before you can charge somebody with breaking in, and even the progressives go up there and say, can we change that? The answer is nobody wants to hear about it.
Exactly. Think of what a perfect example is. Porch piracy. The bill to try and get porch piracy, the theft
Stealing.
Taking packages off. They couldn't get it through to try and take that out of this lower echelon. They couldn't get it through.
Why? What's going on?
It's that same concept of what the legislators are. If anybody says, I want to be tough on anything, they'll be viewed as not involved in criminal justice reform and castigated for it.
And do you see that changing at all, or is this the new reality?
I think it's going to change gradually. It's not going to happen overnight, but there's a ballot measure for next year in 2020 that will try and change, at least to some degree, what's happening with these merchants and thefts. We'll see how the voters feel about it then, because I talk to so many people, Phil, who say, I didn't know that's what I was voting for. I thought I was voting for safe streets.
I'm shocked. A voter voted for something they didn't know they were voting for. That's democracy for you. Thank you for joining us this morning, Steve Wagstaffe, San Mateo County District Attorney.